Hello everyone, this is the video for Module 9, Exploring Financial Tools and Functions. This is found on page EX587 of your textbook. Module 9, Exploring Financial Tools and Functions. This is a very lengthy review assignment. It will require at least 2 parts, maybe even 3 parts. I'm keeping an eye on the clock. YouTube doesn't usually allow me to go beyond 45 minutes without getting mad at me. So it will require at least 2 parts to do all the steps in the review assignment, maybe even 3. We'll play it by ear. The data file that is needed for this is called Business. So please go out to Blackboard under Student Files and find the business.xlsx workbook. While you're doing that, I'm going to read the opening paragraph. I apologize if I say some words here. I don't have my glasses today. I had my eyes tested and they needed to keep my glasses, so I'm having a really hard time reading some of this, but I'll do my best. Ryan has some new figures for the business plan for QR Shopper. He has received slightly better conditions on the business loan, which means that the company needs less money from investors to fund the company. He has also modified the depreciation schedule for the business tangible assets. Ryan wants you to make the necessary changes in the workbook to calculate the company's financial data for the next 5 years. Complete the following. Okay. For those of you majoring in business, which I think is about 98% of the people that take this course, this is a good chapter for you guys. It has to do with amortization tables, etc. So those of you majoring in finance, accounting, marketing, etc., this is your kind of chapter. For us IT people, I don't use a lot of the functions that we will be covering in this class, but they are functions that are very good to know for Excel. So we will take our time because there is a great deal of new functions introduced in this chapter. Step 1 says open the business workbook. So mine is on my desktop. I'm hoping that you have yours open and ready to go. Step 2, in the documentation worksheet, enter your name in cell B3 and the date in B4. And I would like your full name, please. Okay, and the date for today is 7/10/2019. Okay, step 2 is done. Step 3, in the loan scenarios worksheet. So there's a number of worksheets down below. Make sure you're in the loan scenarios worksheet. In cell B4, so I want to make sure I'm on cell B4, annual interest rate, enter 4.85%. So I do 0.0485 and hit enter, and that gives me 4.85%. Again, I entered 0.0485. Okay. And the company, let's see, in the loan scenarios worksheet in cell B4, enter the 4.85% annual interest rate that the company has secured for a business loan. Step 4, calculate the following possible loan scenarios. 4A, in row 7, for a $425,000 business loan, so in B7, I'm going to enter the information that they have just provided to me, for a $425,000 business loan that is repaid in 10 years. So we'll go to D7 and enter 10 at a 4.85% interest rate. All right, so I'm going to go to G7 and I'm going to type in 0.0485. These are just pieces of information that they have provided to me. In row 7, for a $425,000 business loan that is repaid in 10 years at a 4.85% interest rate with quarterly payments. Payments per year then is only going to be 4 payments per year, quarterly. Okay. Number of payments then will be equals D7 for 10 years, and each year I'm making 4 payments. So it's D7 times E7 to give me 40 total payments on this loan. 10 years, 4 payments per year, that comes out to 40. Don't calculate it in your head. Use a formula, because if you were to change either one of those two numbers in D7 or E7, you want F7 to recalculate automatically. The rate per quarter, we're going to put in there that we're going to take the annual rate, so I'm going to do equals the annual rate divided by 4, because we're looking at a quarter payment. We're not looking at a yearly payment, but a quarter payment. So if you're calculating a monthly payment, you would divide the interest rate by 12. But this is a quarter payment, so we're dividing it by 4. So I'm sure that's getting some of you already. But you got to make sure that you calculate the interest rate for the payment that you're making. If someone is charging you, like on a credit card, 18%, that's an annual interest rate. They certainly are not charging you 18% per month. They divide it by 12, and that becomes your monthly interest rate. All right. So we go to, it says, use the PMT function in cell I7 to calculate the quarterly payment. So we're going to leave future value because they haven't given me anything for that. So we're going to leave that blank. And now we're going to calculate our payment. And we're going to use the PMT function, which we have used this one previously. So I'm going to go to my FX key where we find all of our function keys. And I'm looking for the PMT. Now, I'm going to go to the category called Financial, because that's where all the different functions are going to be found to be used today. So I'm going to go to Financial, and I'm looking for PMT. There it is. Now, what's nice about this is that now that we've filled in all the pieces, we just follow the parentheses underneath it. So in other words, rate is going to be H7. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? We're using the parentheses underneath it to help us. The NPER then is F7, and the PV, present value of the loan, is $425,000, which is B7. I click OK, and there's my answer. And leave it as a negative number, because that's coming out of our pockets, so that's a negative. So $13,472 is my answer in I7. So once we calculated the pieces here, doing the PMT function was relatively easy because we just followed the parentheses in row 6 there to help us with that. All right, that's 4A. Again, make sure that you do the calculations here where you're calculating the number of payments, which is the years times how many payments you're making for the year, and your quarterly rate, which is your annual rate divided by 4. Okay? Step 4B, in row 8, for a $425,000 loan, so again we type in $425,000, this time in cell B8, at a 4.85% interest rate, okay, same thing over here, 0.0485 in G8, okay, so far that looks kind of similar. Let's see, in row 8 for $425,000 loan at a 4.85% interest rate with quarterly payments. So again, I'm making 4 payments per year. Okay, nothing new there. Over 10 years, it tells me in the instructions. So I'm just filling in the pieces that they're giving me. Again, I'm going to multiply these two together to give me my total number of payments. Well, a lot of similarity between row 7 and row 8 here so far. And I'm going to do my calculation on my quarterly rate again. Okay. All right, so everything kind of looks the same here. So let's keep reading this. In row 8, for a $425,000 loan at a 4.85% interest rate with quarterly payments of $10,000. So we're going to put $10,000 over here, negative $10,000, as my quarterly payment. They gave me that information in the instructions. With quarterly payments of $10,000 made over 10 years, use the FV function in cell C8 to calculate the principal at the end of 10 years. All right, so now I'm going to come over here in cell C8, and we're going to use the FV function. Okay, so I come up to my FX key. I'm going to scroll down until I find FV. And again, I'm pretty much going to follow what they have in the rows here for me. So it's telling me to calculate the rate. Again, that is now going to be H8. I'm going to click on MPER. That is going to be F8. My payment is going to be I8. Let me get this out of the way so you can see is going to be my quarterly payment. They gave me that information. And my PV is going to be B8. My future value, or present value, present value. So rate is the same rate that we used previously, H8. F8 is my number of payments. That's pretty similar. My payment is what they gave me, which is in I8. And the PV is the present value, which again is already given to us with the parentheses here. I click OK, and I get a result of $177,382 future value. Okay. Step 4C. So we're just filling in the pieces here. In row 9, for a $425,000 loan, again, filling in the pieces, at a 4.85, so 0.0485, interest rate that is completely repaid with quarterly payments. So again, 4 payments. Okay. Interest rate is going to again be equals my annual rate divided by 4. Okay. Again, I'm going to put negative 10,000 over here because of the instructions. In row 9, for a $425,000 loan, that's in B9, at a 4.85% interest rate, that is in G9, and then we calculated our quarterly rate. To calculate the number of quarterly payment periods, let's see. Use the NPER function in cell F9. The NPER function. So back up to FX I go. This time I'm looking for NPER. There it is. NPER. Again, we're just going to go ahead and fill in the pieces as we need it. The rate, as you can probably guess, is H9. The PMT is, of course, I9. And the PV, of course, is B9. I click OK, and payment is 60.09. To calculate the number of quarterly payment periods, and then in cell D9, it's a little bit different than just doing this cell plus this cell plus this cell, isn't it? In D9, calculate the number of years required to repay the loan. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take equals, oops, should be right here, sorry, equals, we're going to take F9 payments divided by E9 to calculate the number of years, which is 15.02 years that it will take us to pay off this particular loan. Okay? I hope this is making sense to you. It's a lot of different functions, as I've said over and over again today already. In row 10, for quarterly payments of $12,000, so we're going to come over here, quarterly payments, which is I-10, type in 12,000. For 10 years, so again, I go back to D10, type in 10 years, at a 4.85% rate. So here, kind of a repeat of a lot of the information. Okay. Use the PV function in cell B10 to calculate the largest loan for the company could completely repay in 10 years. Okay, again, it said in row 10 for quarterly payments. So again, I'm going to calculate my quarterly interest rate, which is equals my annual rate divided by 4. Okay. Again, we're going to make 4 payments per year. And again, our payments is going to be equals D10 times E10. So a lot of the same information we've had in the previous rows. But now we're going to see how big a loan we could possibly take in based on those numbers. So it says in B10, okay, we're going to use the PV function. So I come up here, I'm going to look for PV. Okay. Again, just fill in the pieces. All right? Just filling in the pieces. The rate, of course, is H10. The NPER is F10. And the payment is going to be I10. I click OK. And it comes back and tells me that the loan that I can take out is $378,561. All right, that filled in the complete table for step number 4. Step number 5, in the startup plan worksheet, so make sure you go to the right worksheet, in cell B25. So I'm going to scroll down until I find B25. It says enter $425,000 for the size of the loan that QR Shopper will take out to fund the startup cost of the business. Well, that was easy. That was step 5. We like those steps. Step 6, in the amortization schedule worksheet, in the range A5 to F5, enter the conditions for a $425,000 loan. So in A5, I'm going to type in $425,000. Loan at a 4.85% interest rate. Sound familiar? So in annual rate, in B5 is 0.0485. So in the amortization schedule worksheet, in the range A5 to F5, enter the conditions for a $425,000 loan at a 4.85% interest rate with quarterly payments. Payments per year is 4. Okay, which that my interest rate per period then of course will be equals my annual divided by 4. Again, quarterly payments, quarterly interest rate. And let's see, does it continue on here? Quarterly to be paid in 10 years. So 10 years. Okay. I'm going to calculate my payments, which is equals payments per year is 4 times years. So it's C5 times E5 gives me 40. And then I'm going to go ahead and calculate the PMT for this particular loan. So I go back up to my FX key, and I'm looking for PMT function. We've used this a couple of times now in various chapters. The rate is, of course, going to be what I've already calculated, which is D5. My MPER, which is in F5. And my present value, which is in A5. I click OK, and my payment is $13,472. All right, step number 7. Step number 7. In the range C9 to F48, complete the amortization schedule as follows. 7A is really important. Use absolute references to the loan conditions in row 5 of the worksheet for your formulas. So any cell that I use from row 5 needs to be absolute reference, which is $signs. So let's make sure we follow that. Step 7B, use the PPMT function to calculate the principal payment for each quarter. Okay? So let's cheat a little bit and let's go to the principal payment here. Okay, so use the PPMT. All right. So what I'm going to do is come up here. I'm going to look for PPMT. All right. And click OK. The rate is, of course, going to be D5. Now, since that's coming from row 5, I have to make sure it's absolute by putting my $signs in front of the D and in front of the 5. Okay, anything coming from row 5. The PER is going to be whatever I have in B9. So we skip that, but let's go ahead and click on, I'm sorry, B9. Oh, I'm sorry, period. I didn't read that correctly. So yes, it's for period 1. So we're going to click on B9. My fault. A little hiccup there. Yeah, we want to be on the period. So that's what PER means. So we want to be on B9. Period 1 is what we're calculating. The NPER then, of course, is going to be F5. Again, coming from row 5, I have to make sure that it has the $sign. Okay. So there we go. The PV then, of course, is going to be A5, present value. Again, row 5, so I've got to make it absolute by putting the $signs in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and the principal payment will be $83.19. That's step number 7B that told me to use the PPMT. Step 7C, use the IPMT function to calculate the interest payment for each quarter. So now I'm going to go back to D9, and for this one, I'm going to use the FX key, and I'm looking for IPMT, all these different functions. IPMT. And click OK. All right. Now on this one, we're going to use, for the rate, you got it, D5, and yes, make it absolute, sorry. There we go, make that back to D5, use my absolutes. Okay. The PER, yes, again, it is B9. The NPER is, yep, you got it. I can hear y'all yelling out that it is F5. So I'm going to make that absolute. Again, anything from row 5, do not forget to do that. You will get some weird numbers show up if you don't do that. The PV then is A5. Again, yes, absolute. And click OK. 5153. Okay. Let's see, step 7C, we did. Step 7D, reduce the principal owed for each quarter. Not okay. But first, what we got to do is the remaining principal. We're going to start, since the loan is, we're going to do equals, and we're going to point to the loan value in A5. That is our remaining principal, because we haven't made any payments to it yet in period 1, of course. Okay? The total payment, let me just read here. It says, reduce the principal owed for each new quarter by the amount in the previous quarter. Okay. So for my total payment, though, of course, I'm going to do equals D9 plus E9. Those are my total payments. Interest payment plus principal payment. Okay? Now, I go down to the next line for my second one, and it tells me in the instructions to do equals and take C9, which is my remaining principal, and of course plus what I'm paying in principal payment. And so it reduces it now to a value of $416,681. Does everybody see how that's calculated? We take our principal, and of course we're making payments on it, so we're going to deduct it for the total amount of principal that we're paying off. Okay? All right. Interest payment, of course, that's separate. That's interest they're charging us for the loan, so we're not making a deduction of that necessarily. Okay. Let's see what would happen if I copy these down. Let's see if that will work for us since we used absolute references. Let's see if that reduced everything. It looks like that worked for us. All right. So, of course, our principal payment will get higher each time. Now, step 7 says, 7E, verify that the loan is completely repaid by displaying the value of the remaining principal in cell C49. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this entire row, and because I used absolute referencing, I can use my fill handle in the bottom right-hand corner and drag that all the way down, and I'm going to stop at row 48 here and let go. Now I'm also going to click this box over here to tell it to fill without formatting because I don't want to lose my lines in between each one of the, I guess you can call it years. Okay? So it looks like it might have worked. Let's copy this one down now to our final balance. And we have a final balance of 0. It worked. Yay! So we can see that our interest rate continually, how much we're paying off the principal gets greater and greater each time. And we see our principal balance getting reduced each time. That's kind of neat to watch how that works out. Okay, we're all the way down to step number 8. And so far, we've been going for about 30 minutes. So let's see here. We'll probably finish at the bottom of this page. Step 8, calculate the cumulative interest and principal payments per year as follows. Okay, so let's click in cell B55. Okay. In the range B55, so we'll start in B55, use the cumulative principal function to calculate the cumulative principal payments in each of the first 5 years of the loan. Include absolute references to the loan conditions in row 5 as part of your calculations. So now we're going to use yet another function called cumulative, C-U-M principal. Cumulative principal. Right there it is. Again, we're basically going to follow the pieces here. Okay, the rate is going to be all the way up at the top, D5, and we do want that to be absolute because it's in row 5. Okay. NPER, then of course, is F5, again, absolute. The PV is, of course, A5. Again, we're just kind of filling in the pieces one at a time and really kind of helping us out by using the parentheses that are underneath each one of our labels. The start period, okay, this is interesting because we're going to scroll all the way down. The start period is going to be B53. That's the start period, 1. And you might guess the end period is going to be B54. Now, this is a little bit tricky because you think we got everything filled in. And if you click OK, you're going to get an error message. Because we actually have another piece of information we have to put in. And we have that, I can tell that by this scroll bar here. So if I scroll down, I also have to pick the type. Excuse me. And this is going to be a 0. A 0. I'm going to click OK. And there's my results in row 55. Now, luckily, I can copy that all the way across because of my usage of absolute referencing. And there we go. I've got it all the way copied over. Okay? That was for step number 8A. In step 8B. Okay. Now we're going to use a function called cumulative payment, IPMT. All kinds of different functions. All right? So it tells me in the instructions to use the CUMIPMT function. More than likely, we'll end up following kind of the basic same structures of MPER and rate and all of that. So there it is right there. Okay. Yep, you see it. We're going to go up to rate, D5. Starts getting a little redundant here. D5. We're going to make it absolute. Again, because it's in row 5. We can copy our formulas over without having any issues. MPER. Yep, you got it. F5. The PV. Yeah, you know it. A5. Okay. The start period. Again, I'm hearing you loud and clear. You're saying scroll down. Use B53. End period, B54. We're not going to use absolute for those. Again, we're going to scroll down so we don't miss that piece down there called type. Hit a 0 and click OK, and we get 20,002. Use my fill handle, drag over, and we have just completed step number 8B. Step C, in cells G55 and G56, calculate the total principal payments and interest payments in the first 5 years of the loan. So here we can simply use our auto sum key on our home ribbon to total that row, and it's 187,013 for the principal. And if I use the auto sum key in G56, I get 82,429 for the total interest. Step 8D, in the range B57 to F57, calculate the remaining principal at the end of the first 5 years of the loan. Okay, so I want to get down here to row 57, and I'm going to take A5, and I'm going to make that, whoops, sorry. Got to come back down here, my fault. In the principal remaining, I wish I could ask you out loud, what did I do wrong? I didn't type equals. So I do equals. I go up to A5, which is my starting balance, if you will. And from that, I'm going to add what's in B55. Okay? And there it is. And since I used absolute reference, I can copy it over, and we've got it. It tells you in the instructions, by the way, in the range B57 to F, calculate the remaining principal at the end of each of the first 5 years of the loan. So we take our minus our principal there. Perfect. All right? Actually, I don't think I did that right. A5, let me make sure, plus B55. This should be A5 plus C55. Oh no, see what I did wrong here? I hope you all see what I did wrong here. This one right here should really be equals, and I'm going to take B57 plus C55. That's what I did wrong. I was going to say my principal should keep coming down. So this one is going to be, now I should be able to copy that over. There we go. That's more like it. I was wondering, my numbers just didn't look right there. All right. So what I did was I took the principal remaining after the first 4 years, added the principal for C55, etc. Okay? Hopefully this is making some sense to you. Like I said, for an IT guy, some of this starts to get really kind of rattly in my head. But for you business people, I'm sure it's making perfect sense to you. All right, step number 9. I'm going to see how much more I can get done here. Let's see, we've been going for about 40 minutes. Maybe I better wrap up at this point. So this is the end of part 1. I will continue with part 2, which is step number 9 on page EX587. So thank you very much, and I look forward for you to listen to part 2 of this later on. Thank you.